Fall Picks for E-Picture Books, September 2020, by Sarah Scoggin. So welcome to Newburgh Free Library eBooks. If you're not familiar, we have two different ebook platforms, Libby and Hoopla. And in a minute, I'll show you how you can get to these two platforms from our main website. Libby is the app that allows you to read books from what we call the Overdrive catalog. So if you search the Newburgh Free Library catalog and you see ebooks through Overdrive, you can use the Libby program to open them either on a computer, phone, tablet, whatever device you're using to read your ebooks and audiobooks. And then we have Hoopla, which is you sign in separately. Both of these you sign in with your library card. And Hoopla is a service that has many different media on it. So it has books, audiobooks, movies, TV shows, music, comics, lots of different things on the platform. And currently you get 10 borrows every month with your library card. And there is a kids mode that you have the option of checking the box and then doing a search, and it will only bring up kids material. So today I'm just talking about picture books, but you could just do a general search and see everything we have on Hoopla. So let me show you how to get from our main library page to Libby and Hoopla. Okay, so here we are on the library's main webpage, newburghlibrary.org. So if you go to this main page and scroll down, you'll see a button here marked download. Click on the button and you'll see this page come up, download ebooks, audio, and more. Scroll down again and you'll see our two platforms, Overdrive/Libby and Hoopla. If you click on the links in those columns, it will take you to the platforms and you'll have a chance to set up an account if you don't have one using your library card. If you don't have a library card, you can sign up for one digitally on our main page, the page we were just on. Down at the bottom, there's an option for signing up for a library card. If you have any questions, they have two different websites to help you out with the sign up. If you're still having difficulty or there's a technical issue with signing up for these platforms, during the closure, you can call the tech support helpline at 845-293-0950 to make an appointment. So first up, we have How Big Could Your Pumpkin Grow by Wendell Miner on Hoopla. And the answer is very big. In the year 2012, there was a pumpkin that weighed over a ton. Just how big could a pumpkin get? What do you think? What would you do with a huge pumpkin? Well, some people take pumpkins and make them into boats. But what if it were even bigger than a boat? Would it be big enough to cover the Brooklyn Bridge? To be a face on Mount Rushmore? How about to fill the Grand Canyon? Explore what that would be like in How Big Could Your Pumpkin Grow? Continuing with our fall theme, we have Pete the Cat Falling for Autumn by Kimberly and James Dean. So we love Pete the Cat, and Pete the Cat loves many things, but see how he particularly learns to love autumn in this book on Libby. And if you can't get enough of Pete the Cat, there are two new Pete the Cat books. On Hoopla, we have Pete the Cat's Groovy Guide to Kindness. And that has many famous quotes about kindness and living the coolness of kindness from famous people. And then we have Pete's take on those quotes. And over on the right, we have Pete the Cat Crayons Rock. Pete the Cat has learned to draw his friends with his new cool colors, but will his friends think his drawings are so cool after all? How to Grow an Apple Pie by Beth Charles on Hoopla. 6-year-old Sophie found out that 6-year-old apple trees are just perfect for making pie apples. She follows their journey from seed to delicious pie filling. Perfect fall read. In keeping with the theme of eating delicious food and wearing red, we have Frederico and the Wolf by Rebecca J. Gomez. And this is a fun, modern retelling of the Little Red Riding Hood story, with the boy Frederico being sent to the market to get some ingredients for delicious pico to bring to his abuelo, and the wolf who has other ideas about what should be the outcome of his shopping trip. For more fun, food, wolves, and Spanish, check out Vamos, Let's Go Eat by Raul III. In this story, Little Lobo has a food delivery service, and he has an enormous order from the masked wrestlers who are performing in the arena early in the evening. They want everything from aguacate verde to la zarzamora, from green avocado to raspberries. Will he be able to fill their orders from the many food trucks in time? School may be virtual right now, but you can still chuckle, giggle, and laugh out loud with squeaky clean, super funny school jokes for kids by Craig Yo. Jokes like, Teacher, what is the capital of Mississippi? Alexis, the M. Next we have Your Name is a Song by Jamila Tompkins Bigelow. In this story, a young girl goes to school but says she never wants to go back. All the children have trouble with her name. The teacher stumbles over it, some classmates pretend to choke on it, and one boy declares it sounds made up. But her mother teaches her that every name is a song in its own way, and especially hers. Songs can have fire, songs can have melody. What is the song of her name? Read the story to find out. For school from a small furry mammal perspective, we have Newton and Curie, the Science Squirrels by Daniel Kirk, who is also the author of Library Mouse on Hoopla. One day, a bird's nest falls out of a tree. Can Newton and his sister Curie use science and simple machines to get that bird's nest back up where it belongs? Good thing an apple hit Newton on the head a little earlier to get him thinking about science and forces. In keeping with our back-to-school book theme, we have If I Built a School by Chris Van Dusen, the author of If I Built a House. Imagine for a moment that the virus is over. What kind of school would you build if you had a chance to build it any way that you wanted? Would you build it like this boy would, with crazy water slides and go-karts, amazing science labs, and super futuristic classrooms? Let your imagination decide and be inspired by If I Built a School. For little ones who aren't in formal schooling yet, we have Harold and his magical purple crayon back again for an adventure on a treasure hunt. What will he find? Will there be purple pirates? Take a look to find out. A lot of silliness goes on in I Like to Put Food in My Welly by Jason Korsner. This little boy likes to climb in the sea, drink an apple tree, and swim in a cup of tea. No, he likes to drink in the sea, climb a cup of tea, and swim in an apple tree. Oh dear. In this British import, you can see why it's important to have every word in its proper place. Perfect silliness for the preschool crowd. Little note that to Americans, wellies are galoshes. In a second British import, we have The Very Smelly Telly Show by Max Lowe. Sari is a cat and Derry is a dog, and they have, drumroll, an empty cardboard box, which they decide to make into a cardboard TV. Their friend the duck is watching an actual TV, but might just decide that their cardboard TV is more fun when they see all of the amazing adventures they can have on their very smelly telly show. To shift from something very silly to something very moving, we have Why Do We Cry by Fran Pintadera and Ann Sender. And this is a book about a child who asks his mother, why do we cry? And the mother gives him many beautiful poetic reasons why we cry. For example, we cry because we do not understand, and our tears go in search of an answer. And through all the reasons that we cry, at the end, we cry because we feel like crying, and that is the most important reason. And we also learn at the end that sometimes people can cry for joy. So I recommend this title, Why Do We Cry? Especially if everyone dealing with stress or feelings of sadness and needing to release that sadness. Illustrations are beautiful, and this is also a read aloud picture book. So if you borrow this book electronically, you have the option of a narrator reading the book out loud to you. And here we have an audiobook available through Hoopla. The Autumn Tales, Book 1 of the Tales of Mr. Snuggy Whiskers. This is the story of two girls, sisters, who magically shrink to the size of the adventurous mouse, Mr. Snuggy Whiskers. And one interesting thing about this book is that Hallie and Corey, the two girls, are actually fictionalized versions of the author's own daughters. So they wrote the stories together, and it's actually narrated by the older of the sisters, Hallie Crawford. And now for a powerful wordless story, One Little Bag, An Amazing Journey by Henry Cole. In this story, you can see on the cover there's a simple brown paper lunch sack, and the sack becomes part of the little boy's life and their family story because it's used throughout the little boy's growing up into a young man and beginning a family of his own. It's a story of how something that's only meant to last a day can last for a very long time, and some things that seem like they last for a long time, in fact, last forever, like a family's love. This book was actually based on the author's experience of reusing a paper lunch sack for years and passing it on to a fellow student who also used it for a year, just to kind of get you in the mind to use things that are meant to be throwaway again and again. And now for the story of Ray. Ray is a usually pretty content light bulb who lives in a closet, but it is kind of boring in the closet, especially since it's so dark most of the time. And he tries to count things, but he can only count to 41. Things don't really change too much in the closet throughout the year. But one day he's taken out of his socket and put into a camping lantern, and he has a camping adventure. His life after that will never be the same. It made me think of the same way that Ray's world was opened up, even when he was back in his closet, opened up by that experience of being camping overnight and seeing the stars and the world. That's the way that a book can sometimes open up a world that can seem physically small when we have to shelter in place. And this book is by Mariana Capo, who also wrote Petra, the story of a small rock. And now for a few nonfiction books to keep you interested and entertained. The first is Project Kid, 100 Ingenious Crafts for Family Fun by Amanda Kinghoff. And this book is centered around creating things with what you have around your house. Some pretty amazing projects based on things like bottles, socks, pieces of wrapping paper, things like that. And actually, this whole book came from the inspiration that the author had when her young son said, "Look, Mom, a balloon." And she was holding a round spool of ribbon that she was putting away, and there was a trailing bit of ribbon coming out the bottom. And she said, well, if my son can look at this piece of ribbon and see a balloon, what else can we see if we walk around the house sort of with our craft lenses on and looking at the materials that we have? So I recommend that you take a look at Project Kid. I mean, you could even have fun with a piece of string or two with my first book of nautical knots, A Guide to Sailing and Decorative Knots by Carolyn Britt. And finally, I'll leave you with the Unplugged Family Activity Book, 60 plus simple crafts and recipes for year-round fun by Rachel Jepson Wolf. And I genuinely recommend this book for just really creative ways to spend time outdoors in each of the 4 seasons. So it's broken down by season. You can see there's leaf racing boats, there's teacup fairy gardens, there's making felted necklaces, just so many creative ideas, especially when it's harder than ever to find that balance with screen time. There's actually a foreword in the beginning about how to have a screen-free balance or a culture of balance and screens in your family. This was written before the pandemic, but the tips in there are still just as helpful to try to create a atmosphere of unplugged nature fun. And that's really just scratching the surface of so many books. Most of those books were published in 2020 or fairly recently. But there are so many more titles to explore for kids and adults on our digital platform. So I very much encourage you to check it out and start reading as a family. Thanks so much for watching.